have a liftoff.
All right, Doom Nation, we are back with another episode of the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and your captain, and we are back in the shack.
In the flesh.
Yes.
After a weird 2 weeks of
COVID run-ins and problems up the wazoo. But you know what? We pumped out, like 3-4 shows?
We did, yeah.
So,
we played it safe. Played it safe in the meantime.
Can't complain. You got to do what we got to do. But here we are. As always, guys, Doom Nation, thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Button's right there. Just click it. Those subscribes are important. So what do we got on the docket today? Because it has been crazy.
Yeah, like every other week.
Yeah. We should go back and see how many times I've started the show off with, it has been crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you in person again.
Yes, I know.
I hate doing the Zoom
virtual
stuff.
Yep. And at least you got to hang out with Shane. I got nothing.
Yeah. You got nobody loves
nothing.
You. All right. So we'll first let's circle back and let's get your thoughts on Afghanistan, especially after I spoke with Scott Horton.
Great effing interview.
You had work, so unfortunately you couldn't be there. So I want to get your thoughts on the whole situation. I think one of the main things we're going to talk about tonight is Australia going full Nazi. Mm-hmm. That's been something interesting. And then I had notes on the $1.2 trillion spending bill from 2 weeks ago, but all this crazy stuff has happened, and it's completely been lost in the trends. I still have the notes.
Got voted on today.
Yeah, I don't know. It's contingent upon the other spending bill of 3 point something. The reconciliation bill.
So we're just jumping from spending bills to spending bills.
It's contingent upon another reconciliation bill being passed for it to be finalized.
Right.
But I mean, I put a lot of work into the notes, so I figured let's just talk about it.
So we got to get it out there.
Yeah, and then anything else you want to bring up.
I'm sure we'll come up with a few things. Congratulations. Today is August 24th, and it was Cuomo's last day in office.
Yes.
He is out, but the only problem I have is the lieutenant governor, what's her name?
Kathy Hochul.
Kathy Hochul has now been sworn in as the governor of New York, which is fine. I have no problems with it. But right away, across social media, across all of mainstream media, the first female governor of New York has just been sworn. She didn't win an election to get into this position.
Right.
She was just in the right position at the right time when a governor had to leave in disgrace.
Yeah, a douchebag had to sexually assault,
9 women for this to happen.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, good luck. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, you don't get into these positions without blood on your hands, but
that's obviously true.
She didn't win an election. I don't know what we're getting all crazy for.
Yep.
All right, so into the mix of things.
So let's start off with let's circle back to what I know you watched my interview with Scott Horton.
Yes.
So we've talked here and there on text, but then I always tell you I'll save my bullets
yeah,
for when we're on the show. So what are your thoughts on Afghanistan? I mean, I'm sure there's so many.
I know,
that you have.
I was the entire drive up here. I was listening to other information and thinking about what I want to present, and there's been so much presented. I don't even know how to tackle this. First off, I mean, we've been lied to about everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. I mean, even down to the reports that were being given to the generals or the reports that generals were giving to the press were just lies. We're moving forward. The Afghan army that we're building, they're doing great. They're doing great. They're drug addicts and homeless people. Like Scott said, how they were just trying to, and you said it, they were just trying to get three hot meals.
3 hots in a cot.
Yeah. These were weak men that had no heart in it. Of course, the second this was over, they were going to desert. They were never in it to win it. And we continuously pumped money into people who we knew without a doubt were not in it to win it.
Yeah. They had also no national
pride, nothing.
They had the Taliban, say what you want about them, they have a purpose to their mission,
They are a stable section of Afghanistan.
Right, and, they believe in something, and that's why they won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without us propping up their opposition, we were not, or us sending our own men
Yep.
there to counter them. This is what was going to happen,
Yeah.
regardless.
Professor Giordano made a great point with saying we tried to democratize a country that isn't even united. It has, X, Y, and Z number of different tribes within the country, and within those tribes are their own subsects. And each one of those tribes and communities that are created have their own beliefs. It's not like when you go into like Japan, where it is one people that have been around for centuries upon centuries. This is a broken country that is fine being broken. You just need the stability between the two of them. Democratizing, you're basically trying to democratize several smaller inner countries in one big country, and none of them believe the same thing.
Right. It almost probably. I mean, again, I think I said this to Scott. I'm no expert in Afghanistan's, nationalities,
Right,
but
right.
it doesn't sound like it's a place that should be Afghanistan. It sounds like it should be a place of smaller states based upon the tribal, lines
Yes.
and whatnot in the areas, and but it's not. So the most powerful tribe of the region is gonna win out.
It's
Even
savage
if
to say,
it was separate states, who's to say the Taliban wouldn't take over those other separate states anyway?
It's savage to say that it's like just a big gang turf and gang wars and stuff, but it's basically what it is, and that's how it's playing out. And you've been a big proprietor of like we don't need to be there, like, and I agree with you. After listening to the interview, I was definitely enlightened more because the way Scott presented it is the way the news should truly be presented. Here are facts, A, B, C, not, oh, well, Donald Trump likes A, so A is bad, but Biden likes B and C, so we're going to only talk about B and C and No, here are the facts. This is what is going on. No ulterior motive because right away I'm worried about looking weak or we need to run back to another war, the warmongering right side and stuff like that. When you're presented with the facts of how it went down, you start to lose all that. You start to lose the animosity. The one thing that I'm confused on, I think I got it, but we had to leave those weapons and vehicles no matter what. Because
it's a contradiction, right? Because people are saying the criticism is people are saying, well, why didn't we blow up the weapons or the Humvees or the helicopters that were left behind? Well, those were not necessarily like our soldiers' equipment, like personally.
Right.
It was equipment that we gave to the Afghan army that they needed to fight the Taliban.
Yes.
If we blew up that stuff, they'd have had no stuff to fight the Taliban, and they would have fallen to the Taliban. I mean, they fell to the Taliban anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't like that argument. Doesn't make a lot of sense because then you'd still be complaining about the same thing that the Taliban took over.
So, from everything that I've been listening to and reading up on, basically the military-industrial complex had all their contractors say, oh, we're going to build an army. Well, I have a contract for you, and I'm going to make all your Humvees. And in the final years, you're going to pay me $10 billion to make the most Humvees, and we're going to give it to them. You're the M4 guy. Let's do that. Joe Schmo is the communications radios guys. These guys have these huge contracts.
Right.
So they spent all this billions and billions to give it to them, and they lost it in an instant because they invested in guys that did not care. So the point being, though, is they couldn't have blown up those weapons and those Humvees because...
And then what were they going to do? Like, target the Afghan army for airstrike? Like, they were while they're on the base with the equipment? Like,
yes.
Or when the Taliban got there, target them and like upscale the war again. I know that's like Trump's argument of I would have hit them hard if they took an inch past what I agreed with them. I would hit them hard. Yeah, bro, but then you're gonna like re-escalate the war. Again.
But we've been talking since the Trump administration that something's going to happen to re-escalate the war. You know what I mean? Whether Trump was going to do it or Biden was going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like what we're seeing now is what we were predicting in saying something's going to happen because Biden right away, and you know what? I'm glad he agreed with the Taliban to the August 31st evacuation.
Really? Okay.
Because it just shows how weak Joe Biden is.
Okay, you mind fucked me there.
Yeah. You know what? We sat here for a year. We tried to be unbiased. Yes, we ended up on one side of the fence more times than other. But it's not like the non-experts here didn't tell you that Joe Biden was a bad pick. You know what I mean? Like, fine, Trump wasn't a better pick, but we warned you, and you guys looked at us like we the
And
ones
again,
with two heads.
at least in my opinion, it was the pick of the giant douche,
Yeah,
turd,
and
turd sandwich. I'm still going to give Biden credit, though, for actually following through and ending this war. Because back on St. Patrick's Day, I had said, there's no way. It's all BS.
Not over yet.
Right, but for the most part, he's chosen to end it. I know if you want to get into conspiracy theories, which we can, he's chosen to end it. And I want to point back to how you made a comment before about how the media would cover Trump one way and they'll cover for Biden another way. They're not covering for him here.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
they're crucifying him. CNN, all the people who usually cover for him are completely roasting him, and that stands out to me, right? Because I don't have Biden derangement syndrome. He just sucks. But I'm taking his decision here of actually ending the war as a good one. The execution of the plan to get of extending it to 9/11, that sucked, right? That was a political move instead of a regular one. And the fact that they had more time to withdraw and did a worse job seems counterintuitive to me. So he deserves obviously legitimate criticism for that. But he did end the war, and he's taking a lot of shit from the press because, let's be real, the corporate press is in cahoots with the military-industrial complex, and you're not allowed to end wars. Never. If you will, even if we're your best friend, even if you're the puppet president, which Joe Biden is, he went and made the decision to end the war. Just like Trump also went and made the decision to end the war. Remember how they lied to him about the military lied to him about the troop levels. Yeah. So there's fuckery, right? When it comes to ending a war, it doesn't even matter if the president is your guy that you installed in there. He still has some way to make decisions on his own that could go against the grain. And they don't want that. They don't like that, Yeah,
it's
something real quick. Something I didn't have enough time to talk to Scott about with either is that there's 4 or 5 other wars going on in the area, in Syria, in Sudan, in Libya, and in those other conflicts. In some of them, especially the ones in Africa, we fought on the same side as Al Qaeda. Almost to the fact that we're bombing, we're serving as their air force. So the whole thing is just a big fucking honeypot money grab.
It's the one thing I have determined from all of this. It's 100% nefarious.
Yeah,
100%. It's all, and a good point I heard was, and I was talking to you about before. The military isn't designed to win anymore. The military, it's just broken garbage policy. It's
critical race theory now. You saw what General Milley said about he wants to understand white rage. Maybe you should have been fucking understanding how to build a better force in Afghanistan over your fucking imagined white rage critical race theory bullshit.
He is probably one of the most corrupt out there because he lied for the past 15 years about the progress being made in Afghanistan. He should be held.
Someone should lose their job. Yeah,
there's so many people, Biden included, that should be held accountable for what is going on here. This is a blunder beyond it's amazing how badly this administration fucked it up, but it's not just this administration because this has been going on since Bush. You know what I mean? We've been lied to from the start. Even we should probably play that little speech Jimbo from The Last Slice said.
I put it on our check that out. I put it on our social medias.
Where it's 20 years later, we still didn't find these weapons of mass destruction that we were
that's
promised.
Iraq, but yeah.
But that's how it started. And then you and Scott were talking about how they kept Osama alive so they could tie whoever. Genius, by the way.
They used him as the carrot on the stick, right?
Yes.
They kept him just out of reach of the special operators, didn't give the special operators enough of what they needed, and then they can conflate Al-Qaeda with the Taliban, with Saddam. And one thing I've really learned from Scott is when you look at it, logically, that doesn't make any sense. Al-Qaeda, the Taliban are Islamic fundamentalist believers, and they weren't necessarily friends either.
Right.
And then Saddam is a godless
Tyrant,
monarch
yeah.
king who doesn't have even a beard. He wears a French beret. You know,
I forgot what he looked like.
he only really worshipped himself.
Yeah.
He was not aligned at all with the people who attacked us
Right.
on 9/11. He's not a good guy, right? Is the world better with him gone?
Yeah.
Maybe, right? Maybe that place would have been even better with just the brutal dictator there, but a little bit more. I don't know. I can't, armchair quarterback the last 20 years. But he still wasn't a good guy, but he wasn't Al Qaeda, and he
Yeah.
didn't have any fucking weapons of mass destruction. That was a complete lie, and everyone was like conned into the rah rah America. Like, we got fucked
Yep.
on 9/11. We got to go and smash something.
That's where the war dogs
yes,
came in.
and the
yeah.
shit is still, people are still doing that right now. They still are. They can't. It's so frustrating that people are like still in that mentality, and it's being applied right now to the withdrawal, which is a giant fuck up. But we have to like keep in mind everything.
You know
I
what
want to
it
debate
is?
you on the withdrawal. We'll talk about that, but good.
You know what it is with that war cry? It's just the lack of education. They don't. So, like I said, I really like the way Scott presents his materials because here it is. There's no political agenda. It's just the facts delivered to you. And the people who are going off on their each side, they are not educated in even knowing that there's other ways or other reasons.
It's just noise.
Yes, it's CNN, Fox, whoever, they give you a 10-minute clip on the past 20 years of corruption. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
in the time frame that they talk about this, even though it's like 3 times an hour now, it's still the same thing. It's still Project Mockingbird where each person says just about the same thing. They're not, the grand scope of it, like Scott was presenting to you, like I listened to Professor Giordano about, like, this is huge. This goes way deeper than the 10-minute segment on
Right.
CNN.
Even
like,
if me and you spent the next 3 weeks, talking about it, we would never be able to just, scratch the surface of it. Scott's literally been working on this stuff since it happened.
I was going to say, the research alone would take another 10,
he
20
wrote
years.
2 books
about
it. Yeah, it's not an easy topic to break down. So one of the
And that's how, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's how everybody views it. They go, oh, I know it's fucked up and it's confusing, but
right,
like
so they saber rattle. Yeah,
like they're just like, it's confusing. I get it. Like, and they go off to do what they want.
Right, and let's apply that now to the withdrawal situation, right? Because yes, there's this what is it, the 31st deadline?
Yeah, next Monday or Tuesday.
Right, that everybody has to be out of there by. And it's an interesting scenario. We're not generals here. We're not military trained, but like, I don't see how that's even physically possible.
It's not.
To get the people who are apparently behind outside of the airport to the airport, flown out of there, and then also remove the equipment that does belong to our soldiers in the airport, etc. That's going to take a lot of time. So I don't know what the answer is here, right? Do we say to the Taliban, fuck you, we're going to do what we want, we're going to stay as long as it takes to remove everybody, and then that becomes the excuse to remain there and keep that airfield as a presence for another couple months. Maybe the Taliban get mad, they start firing at our guys, kill a few, now we can retaliate, blow them up, and the whole thing cycles back into another troop surge, and the war continues for another 10 fucking years. But at the same time, there's apparently Americans that are stuck that need to be retrieved, and I don't know how to get them out of there. And I don't know how to navigate the situation correctly, but I'm trying to like.
Biden is going to mark my
Fuck
words.
it up, I'm sure. But.
Mark my words. I've said this from the start of this particular situation. Biden is going to leave those people for dead. Trust me, they're all as good as dead. First and foremost, Jen, this press secretary,
Psaki.
Jen Psaki, she has doubled and tripled down on the fact that they are not in immediate danger, that they're not.
Yeah, I just saw something before where she was like, we're not going to leave everybody behind. And then the very next day, she says, there's no way we're going to be able to get everybody out of there, something like that.
Their new catchphrase, and start listening for this, is, we are going to get everyone out of there who wants to leave. You really mean to tell me that there is a percentage of these American people in Afghanistan who want to stay? Okay.
No, of course. The Americans, I'm sure, right? Nobody.
We
wants
can't
to
get a straight number. It's been 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 Americans over there.
Yeah.
That we're being told we will get everyone out who wants to leave. So it's just an excuse to cover up that, oh, there's still 5,000 people there. Well, they all wanted to stay. No, you left them to die.
You know what I was also thinking? How do we even know that that's true?
Yeah.
How do
On
we
top
even
of
know that
that,
there really is that many Americans behind enemy lines still?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I have no inside information.
And also-
I'm not on the ground there. I don't know. But how do we know that that's like not being used to pressure to stay there? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no. I have no trust anymore.
No,
in the
no,
government,
and no one
obviously.
should.
So I don't know.
you know,
Sorry, I don't know, but I don't know.
I mean, my
honest.
course of action, it's going to collapse no matter what, whichever way we go. So, me being a patriot, an American, I don't want to see any of our Americans get left behind. That's fucked
Of course,
up.
yeah.
The POW flag, the black and white Vietnam POW flag. My father was in Vietnam. He explained that to me. They left American soldiers in wooden hut cages in no-name villages in the middle of Vietnam and packed up and left. Said, see you later, goodbye. These were American soldiers who got drafted to fight this. They didn't even show up to sign up. They got dragged to war.
Do you see why in Ladies' Night we said that the draft is immoral and
Yeah.
wrong and there shouldn't exist? But good.
So my father, who witnessed Vietnam, explained to me what the POW flag represented. So I can't allow, whether they want to stay or not, I'll even give Saki the fucking benefit of the doubt here. Whether
That they don't want to stay?
Right. So I would, my approach to this would tell the Taliban straight up, fuck you. We're getting everyone out if it takes a month or whatever. And then yes, they're going to attack. That's going to try and for the military industrial complex and the contractors, they're going to want to continue the war longer. But if I was president or if I was in Biden's shoes, I would say fuck you to the Taliban to show there is some balls in his fucking pants, just an inkling of a raisin or something. And then once we're done with that operation while we are fighting off the Taliban, pack up and leave. Because you're just going to give up the land to the Taliban anyway. Whichever way we do it, let's just do it where as few Americans, captive Americans get, killed.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So my thoughts are I don't trust them to pull off that.
You think they'll just fail at that mission too?
They'll fail probably because Biden's administration fails at everything. But they'll, like my original point, they'll just use that to continue justifying continuing the war. And then at the same time, I'm also looking at the airport withdrawal situation as kind of like a hostage situation, right? And while the Taliban might not be, I mean, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I'm not on the ground. I don't know. Like holding Americans at gunpoint, like one-on-one, they kind of are in terms of like your operations over here. Here's my mouse pad. This is the airport. And then all the Americans are over here. And then in between is the Taliban circling this thing. So like your hostages are out here. You're the police. You're over here. And you got to negotiate with the guys holding them hostage. If you decide as the police, fuck it, we're going to send in the SWAT team and flashbang the house, etc. A lot of those hostages are going to die, right? Because the hostage takers are going to just start killing people because you've violated that, whatever it is. Again, I don't know what the right answer is, right? But I'm trying to keep people's minds here in perspective. It really is a fuck situation, and that could ultimately trace back to Biden's poor management of the withdrawal and the extension to 9/11. How, again, they extended it and made it worse makes no sense. If you gave yourself more time to do something, you would think that the product would come out better. If I gave myself a week to edit the podcast videos, it'd be the best podcast video you'd ever seen. But normally I do it in the course of one night, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, dude. I don't know what the answer is. It's whatever, no matter what happens, though, Biden's going to look like shit.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that ending the war was good. That's the way I view it as.
I mean, congratulations for that for him, but it's his gold star out of all this. But yeah, this is what, so many people have screamed to try and wake up to people that he wasn't fit for office. He isn't fit for office. The answer to what this really is every institution is broken. The military, the media, the White House,
FBI,
the Congress,
CIA.
yeah, the Department of Justice, it's just top to bottom broken, and they literally forced America to put in the worst guy possible to run
Yeah.
a completely broken machine.
Hey Doom Nation, it's Gags here, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Two Doom Men. If you like what we are about, help us spread the message by subscribing to our channels and sharing the show with your friends. That's the best way we can get around big tech's algorithms. You can also help support the work we do by subscribing to our Patreon account at patreon.com/2doommen or by going to linktree.com/2doommen. That will bring you to everywhere our show has a presence. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the show. Maybe they're losing their grip on the whole. You ever heard of a sect of libertarians called collapsitarians?
No.
Collapsitarians are basically libertarians who believe there's nothing we could do. We can't fix it. The faster the whole government collapses and the country collapses, the better. Because once it does, we could start from scratch and start over. I don't agree with that. I don't think but I don't think it's a good thing. I think we should try and reform the system from within and as best as we possibly can. But there are people who believe like good.
Yeah, just let
the more chaos, the more
let it burn. Yeah.
The more like the agencies go crazy and do crazy shit. The the more they're reaching at straws. And good, the faster it collapses, the better, because that's the only way. That's just what some people believe. I don't.
Just a quick way to a revolution.
Oh my goodness!
Oh Jesus! I tried moving in.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me good because in my ears,
you sound fine.
So you hear me good? Okay, good. Speaking of the CIA, let's wrap up Afghanistan here with some interesting news.
This one that
today.
you showed me today.
This one, I'm sure you could start forming your tinfoil hat now if you want while I read this. So this is from the New York Post, and CIA Director William Burns reportedly held secret meeting with Taliban leader. That was this morning. He held a secret meeting in Afghanistan Monday with the Taliban's de facto leader, Abdul Ghani Baradar. He's the highest level diplomatic encounter since the militant group toppled the government in Afghanistan. President Biden sent the top U.S. spy to meet him in Kabul as the administration continues to evacuate American citizens and allies. The CIA declined to comment on the meeting, but discussions between Burns, one of Biden's most experienced diplomats, and Baradar likely involved the August 31st deadline. A CIA rep would also not confirm the meeting to the press, saying that the agency never discusses the director's travels. I saw the Taliban also denied this meeting happened, at some point this afternoon. The meeting fucking happened. In my opinion, the meeting happened. It's shady because it's the spook, the king spook of the CIA going to meet with the Taliban. Was he there to really try and negotiate extending the deadline? Maybe. Was he there to negotiate some other shady shit? I don't know. Why would you send the CIA guy? The optics of that. I mean, everyone's denying it, right? So they're saying it never really happened. But the story came out, right? Because shit leaks. So it's hard to keep something like that under wraps. Boy, that is sketchy.
We always talk about the establishment. We always talk about when the establishment says you should like this person, you should listen to this person, you probably shouldn't listen to them. The CIA is involved. They're one of the agencies where if they say the sky is blue, I can promise you the sky is no longer blue. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's nighttime.
Yeah, they will always give you the opposite. They will always I don't think there's anything truthful left about them. So yeah, I'm going to say that if they're denying a meeting, there was a meeting. Yeah. You know, who knows what it could have been about.
Right.
For all we know, they could have been a meeting where it's like, all right, yeah, we're going to pull out on the 31st, but we're still going to be here. We're not going to talk about it. No.
Right. Maybe we're going to have covert, who knows? It could also have something to do with the heroin trade there and the poppy fields. The CIA did, trade drugs with the narcos, right, in South America in the 80s. It's not out of their wheelhouse. They're experts in this stuff. Did he secure a deal to make sure that we keep a lock, or the CIA keeps a lock on the opium?
For all we know, the CIA could have been delivering the paycheck. Thank you guys for doing what we asked you to do. Here is your paycheck, and fuck off. Have a great life.
That's what I posted on our story. I was like, making sure that they remained controlled opposition. For the next 20 years. So, we're going to give you guys a respite, and we won't fight a war for you for a couple months, but we'll be back and just be, you'll profit from it, particularly Baradar or whatever.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, just give that a tappy. So, who knows, dude, but it's sketchy that they sent the CIA top dog there.
So, final question for this. We predicted that like we weren't going to be leaving Afghanistan. Something was going to happen that would make us extend the war. Do you think that's what we're witnessing right now?
I don't know. How can I really say?
I think it is. I mean,
you think what's happening is going to extend the
yeah,
war?
yeah. Because Trump made it possible. I'm not praising Trump because I'm sure there would still have been some type of blunder, and regardless, the media would have spun it to be the worst thing in the world anyway. True. So that doesn't matter. Oh boy, where was I going with it? I feel like Trump made it possible to end the war in Afghanistan, and I mean, we know the establishment hates him and he hates the establishment. He made it presentable. Like, look, this is a viable option. We can end the war in Afghanistan. And the establishment was like, fuck, okay, so what are we going to do to fix this? All right, well, when Biden gets in, he's going to scrap that great plan that would end the war. Well, you could have your own opinion on that. You know, he's going to scrap this plan, and we're going to put in this really shitty plan, and we're going to make sure that the Taliban takes over. Don't worry, the CIA is already over there in cahoots with the Taliban. You know what I mean? And this will be, and then you guys will attack us, or they trick the Taliban, because you know the CIA will do that to any country around the world, and we'll have another 20-year war because of it.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to connect those dots, right?
I mean it's all tinfoil hat, but
yeah, I'm gonna say no because I spoke with an actual expert and I pretty much asked him the same question and watched other stuff Scott was talking about, and he does believe that this is the end.
This is it.
So what do I know?
It'd be nice.
I'm not an expert. Spoke to one. Gonna go with his assessment of it, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, it would be nice though to. But you know what then? Like, if we're leaving, I want to see, like, this, like, we don't need to do another spending bill. We could just take the money that we were using for paying it.
Until we get to my spending. We'll save the boring shit for the spending bill stuff. But we'll see what to get that. Let's go to the land down under.
Australia. I can't do a good Australian accent, so I'm not going to try.
I'm not going to try either. But, shit's gotten crazy there. They went from, did they go from zero to Nazi real quick? I mean, they've been Nazi almost, with this whole COVID situation from the onset.
You know what screws me in this situation is I'm not up to current events in Australia. I'm no historian of Australia. I couldn't tell you what Australia's been doing for the past 5 years compared to the next 20 years. So what's curious to me is like, how did we get this far? That you're like, all right, concentration camps, let's go.
It's because they gave up their guns in the 90s. And it set them up for failure in terms of resisting the government overreach in the future.
And that's also something that also bewilders me too, because me and you always talk about the Second Amendment and the need for guns and stuff. We always show that like people in the city who don't need to fend for themselves or who aren't walking out into a backyard where a black bear could be, they have this
happened here.
Yeah, they have this no understanding. They have no understanding that sometimes you do need a gun. Yeah. Sometimes there's situations where you need to be protected. Our friend sent us that horrific video of the guy getting attacked with the hatchet in the ATM section. Yeah, but you know what, though? If that guy who got attacked had a gun on him, he would have been arrested for defending himself against a brutal hatchet attack because it happened in New York. You know what I mean? Like,
right, he couldn't really have a gun to begin with. Yeah.
There's situations, whether you like it or not, that calls for the need of guns. And when you're in a rural part of America where you could run into a wolf or a mountain lion, you really need it. In Australia, everything is trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Every animal, even in your home, a scorpion could get into your house and kill you. Mm-hmm. You know, like, why?
So yeah, you're right. There is obviously a practical need for having guns, like bears in the backyard, like kangaroos wanting to punch your head off, or like guys attacking you in the ATM vestibule with a machete. And then there's the ideological need to resist the government, right? From what I understand about Australia is like they do still have grandfathered in like hunting guns.
Okay.
But like the culture of the Second Amendment and gun ownership and concealed carry and this is a check on the government, that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. But they still do have like Joe Biden says, you don't need an AR-15 to shoot a deer.
No.
But you might actually in certain scenarios you might actually use some of those guns in certain areas. You can hunt with that. But that's just because some people have hunting rifles doesn't mean that they have like the same gun ownership aspect
Right.
that we have here. What's crazy about Australia, I didn't take that many notes on like their whole lockdown situation.
It's really
but
just our opinion at this point.
yeah. I
'Cause-
mean, one thing that's crazy is that the videos I've posted on TikTok, wow, they got a lot of attention, especially from people in Australia. So I've kind of gotten
Yes, I've been reading some of
Yes.
the comments. I was like, this guy's not, he's talking English, but not
right
like,
mates.
Yeah.
You see people are saying
Yeah.
mates and then sharing their personal experiences. So that's been interesting. I've been like harvesting that for some like information, and yeah, some of them agree. Like it's fucked. The situation is fucked, and then some of them are all for it.
Yes.
Some of them are all
Oh,
for
my
lock me
goodness.
down, keep me in the home.
Govern me harder,
Yeah,
daddy.
You know.
Holy, that's the crazy part.
What's crazy about it, right? This is what I understand about Australia. They originally went crazy with the lockdowns, very strict, lifted them, and then reenacted them over a very small amount of cases from the onset. I think a couple weeks ago, one of the regions that like 900,000 people live in had one person die from COVID, and they locked everything down. You were not allowed to leave your home, etc., except for like the bare essential stuff. Okay, and now since then, apparently they've had more cases, whatever. The thing is, you're going to immediately go full totalitarian, lock everything down off of one death, right? How easily can that be co-opted or falsified, right? Anytime something's happening, you could just say, somebody died from COVID, lock everything down.
Yeah.
And that's like the bare minimum here. I'm saying like they just shouldn't do that. That's aside from the fact that lockdowns don't work, they make no sense, etc. Where am I going with this? It's just crazy, dude. You know, like it's not logical. Like someone got hit by a car, I'm sure, in Australia that same day and died. I don't see the government locking them down because cars are pulling everybody's licenses because
who died of drinking too much? Who died of cigarette?
Yeah, and it's illegal. This is the other point I want to make. It's illegal to protest against a lockdown in Australia.
Yeah, shocking. First and foremost, if anyone doesn't think this can happen here, you're a fool. The only thing literally stopping it from happening here is the Second Amendment. You could argue whatever you want. It's a fool's errand. I mean, we are not too far behind this.
Oh, we're not.
Just look at New York already.
They have their goon. They have their goon de Blasio. I saw him on the news today again saying, "No, now it's it. FDA approval. Time to make it mandatory for everybody." Look, I don't want to even discuss like is a vaccine work. If it doesn't, go talk to your doctor. We're not doctors, but they have. I've come to learn with de Blasio. Sorry to just go off on a tangent here. He's like the goon that they're sending out to like
he'll say
push
anything.
The most radical position of totalitarianism. Why? Because first of all, he's an activist mayor. He's not a real mayor. Second of all, like he's on his way out, so there's no repercussions for him individually. So you know what? I'm sure there's been a conversation had somewhere. Again, this is completely just my opinion. Yeah, go out there and say the craziest shit. See how far people will go. Test the waters.
I'll wrap that into Australia as well. Establishment is testing the waters, right? New York, super liberal. De Blasio will do anything. They're testing him like, what crazy shit can we say? And when people start flipping we got to draw it back for a few weeks.
Right, they're testing the waters, yeah.
The establishment, though, in Australia is like, let's see. So, like...
Oh, they just did the craziest shit
in
first,
America, in America, they have one or two, like, crazy mayors, like, saying wild shit. But then they're like, all right, let's test full-fledged Nazi lockdowns on Australia. They can't get off that island anyway, and no one can save them. Like, they're testing to see, like, where's the breaking point so, like, they could draw out what they need. But, so, where did I want to go with this? De Blasio really threw me off. Because he's insane with...
Yeah, he is. He's the goon. He's the goon.
Yeah,
he's the hired gun. Just go out there.
Even if you support him...
I don't think anybody supports him.
You're right. Dude, this is like a point I wanted to make.
It's another reason why they're just using him as the goon.
About like the police in Australia, the people in charge in Australia's parliament, like people who support de Blasio, like everyone needs to take a step back. You support de Blasio because that's part of you're on the left and you should really step back and go, Well, why is the mayor talking about punishing people? Just like the president of France needs to take a step back and be like, "Whoa, I'm really prepared to starve my people based on whether they should get vaccinated or not. You can't go to
Yeah,
the
right,
grocery
right. They
store."
have bouncers at the
Like, yeah,
supermarkets now in France.
the president or whatever you call the leader in, is it prime minister or
Prime
the president?
Minister.
Okay,
Yeah, we're gonna get
the
to him.
prime minister of Australia, you're not taking a step back going like, wow, a city with a couple of million people in, like I locked them in there, like I sent like the military to surround them, I'm arresting them left and right, and if they don't like it and they try and protest, they get punished even harder. Like, these are your people, you know, like
Yeah, they are your people, right? And that goes outside the aspect of like that doesn't even
the
have to do
ethics.
with the ethics, the aspect of like getting the vaccine. I do think that like my personal opinion, again, everybody should see their doctor, as Tim Pool says, right?
Yep.
About getting the vaccine, but like I don't think the vaccines you might have a different opinion, right? But like if you're a very old person and you're very high at risk, like my grandma, for example, I'll use her. She doesn't know, she doesn't watch a podcast. So I told her she should probably get vaccinated because she's like 90 years old. You know, she's useful. A lot of people, she's useful. She's vulnerable. A lot of people come to see her. So I've recommended to her she should go get the vaccine. She's an old, stubborn Italian woman. She ain't going to do it. Okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I can't force you to do anything because that's my opinion on everything. But what the fuck does that have to do with becoming a totalitarian government
Thank you.
and restricting people's rights and locking them in their homes and making them go poor and making them have drug
you.
addictions and etc.?
It's such an overstep. I am willing to keep you out of the grocery store so you can't feed your family. You'll never make another dollar again if you just do what I say. Life. This is why we're here.
Yeah. And look, let me get into something that really fucking pissed me off. And you want to talk about, let's take a step back. Let's talk about what
the
happened to
dogs?
the rescue
Good.
dogs.
This
'cause
is good to bring this
This
in.
is something that is beyond fucked up. And this is points to how this whole COVID shit has become like a cult, sort of, almost religious. And that makes it worse, right? The follow the science people have replaced God with
yeah.
COVID, right?
Hold it, before you read this story right here is what the conspiracy theorists have been trying to warn you about COVID. You know, yes, there's this virus. Yes, you could be vulnerable. Yes, the vaccine can help you. You know, but what we're about to tell you with these, you know, they're shooting dogs. They're just using COVID as an excuse to do whatever you want. The mean kid with the magnifying glass, and we're the ants. Like, I could burn 100 today and I could burn 200 more. It's just an excuse to do whatever you want.
Yeah, this is personal for me, right? As a person who helps my wife foster dogs and works
Yeah.
with animal rescues, we had two dogs on a podcast a few weeks ago. They both got adopted. Finally, great for them. So let's read this article, right? COVID-19 rescue dogs shot dead in Australia over coronavirus restrictions. This is from, and I got this from Sky News, which is like not an American news company. I wanted to go as neutral as I possibly could here. 15 rescue dogs, including 10 puppies, have been shot dead by a rural Australian council under its interpretation of coronavirus restrictions. Berkshire Council in New South Wales destroyed the canines, which had been at its pound to prevent volunteers in an animal shelter from traveling to pick them up and potentially spreading the virus. The council decided to take this course of action to protect its employees and community, including vulnerable Aboriginal populations, from the risk of COVID-19 transmission, the Office of Local Government, a government watchdog, told the Sydney Morning Herald. So the most despicable, worst acts in human history have always been done under the guise of it's for the public health.
Yeah.
They murdered dogs.
Yep.
For public health. You could have just left them until the lockdown was over.
Scroll back up. I'll show you right where.
What, the top?
Yeah, go. Is there more above this?
The top is just the.
All right, now go back down.
Here.
I'm looking for a specific sentence. Oh, okay. 15 rescue dogs, including 10 puppies, have been shot dead by rural Australian councils under its interpretation of coronavirus restrictions. This is their that's the crazy part here is everybody gets their own interpretation of COVID. This is the excuse I'm talking about that they use for COVID to do whatever they want. There has been pandemics throughout this country, throughout the world, throughout Australia's history, throughout America's history, there has been terrorist attacks. There has been natural disasters that have killed hundreds upon thousands of people. There's been problems throughout history. It's always been shit, some people say. But under no circumstance, even at like the height of World War II and Nazis taking people over and concentration camps at their fullest, under no circumstance, under any terrible circumstances out there, has there been conditions to be like, all right, let's just start shooting the dogs. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure there has, dude. The Nazis did everything they did under the guise of public health. The
fine,
Jews
I'm
were
sure
disease-ridden
Nazis
vermin, according to them.
I'm
so
sure
had,
Nazis killed dogs because they're pieces of shit. But like, think of every pandemic. Unless the dog is carrying the virus, like, what justifies shooting the dogs? Because people are going to come and look at the dogs.
I have an example actually. In Chernobyl, in the Soviet Union, after the power plants melted down.
Oh, they went through and killed the animals.
And like the radiation was released into the area. A lot of people fled the area, evacuated, and they left their dogs behind in the panic. The Soviet army, the Red Army, went into the area, killed every pet they could find, and the justification was they're irradiated. We don't want it to spread to other things. Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, they murdered dogs because of human decisions.
I'm going to say that's a little justifiable, but I mean, there was actual radiation.
They didn't kill, but like every fucking bird, they didn't kill that.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was
just a big target.
I understand, but I also it's kind of
no,
cruel.
It's disgusting. Yeah. It is cruel. But here's COVID's excuse to let you do. As long as you're in power, you can do whatever you want to do. And where do you want to go with Australia next?
I got a couple of things. My final point is just this is cult-like shit.
Mm-hmm.
This has nothing to do with getting vaccinated or taking precautions or trying to make sure people don't get sick. This is cult-like fucking behavior. This, and then like when we had the hurricane the other day, the first recommendation for some people is...
That's not the first time.
I know it's not the first time, but like we had the hurricane coming up here. It really wasn't much. And one of the first things, like the public health officials or the people in charge were recommending is in order to stay safe from the hurricane, go get your COVID-19 vaccine. That doesn't have anything to do with COVID. A hurricane and COVID have nothing to do with each other. The way I'm looking at it is like, that's your prayer to start off your, like you have to say your prayer, like, in Jesus' name, amen. Go to the shelter, go do this and go get your vaccine. Like these people have become cult worship, the branch Covidians.
Yeah.
I've seen people call it, right?
That's
so
a great term.
They have to signal to their their tribe, their virtue by inserting "go get your COVID-19 vaccine." It's something that doesn't have to do with COVID-19,
no.
And they don't even put any nuance behind it. Just go do it.
Yeah, go get caught in the hurricane while you're getting your vaccine.
I got some more. Do you want? All right. So there's two more things about Australia. Let's get into. Do we want the white pill first, or do we want the really black pill?
Don't matter to me. I just wanted to know where you wanted to go with it. I had an idea, but we might as well.
Let's go into your thing first before we go to because there's the two stories. The one that you gave me, and then I have another one from Australia.
Right. If you want to go through it, we'll start with mine. So I got a little video clip here. I'll have to read the caption because I forget what her name is. But anyway, so they used COVID as a reason to shoot these dogs because that's their interpretation. Yeah.
I just want to point out that this is the same region also from the dogs on the
South Wales,
New South Wales. It's the same. So this is like the this is like what the eagle's nest for Hitler is must be in New South Wales in Australia.
Yeah, the establishment is strong in South Wales. So this is what we want people to realize. This is what we want people to wake up. We're not anti-science. We're not anti-vaxxers. We just want you to wake up because things can get worse. Eventually, they're going to take something from you that you don't want to be taken, and you're going to go, oh, well, how did that happen? And sorry, it's too little too late. Australia, they gave up their guns. There's people for what's going on right now. There's people for, the building of camps. There's people for these lockdowns.
They're building.
Yeah, they're super excited to be locked down and restricted again. If you don't want to have basic human rights, then I guess you don't deserve to have basic human. You know what I mean? Like if the people of Australia want to fold, then so be it. No, you're right, they don't. But there's the people who do. Like you deserve what you're gonna get. So anyway, COVID's an excuse to do whatever you want. The state premier of New South Wales in Australia, I can't read that far. My eyes are shut.
The state premier in New South Wales in Australia openly admits that restrictions on work movement and life will never end, even with 0 cases and 80% of people double vaccinated. Let's play what you had to say here.
World, even if we had 0 cases and we were at 80% double dose, you would still have to respect some rules that exist around vaccinations, around social distancing, around mask wearing. So long as Delta and deadly COVID is around, we will always need to live with a measure of restriction.
That's it. That is the future of Australia as long as these people stay.
And just like spoiler warning here, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm also not a doctor, but COVID's always going to be around. Like the flu is always going to be around. The common cold is always going to be around. It's a respiratory virus. Those things don't just magically disappear. We can't vaccinate it out of existence. So it's always going to be around. It's going to be an endemic. Some people will just randomly get COVID. It won't be as bad as it is now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And draw this back to my original point of it. They're fucking locking down the country on one death. There's always going to be COVID. So there's always going to be a situation where one death occurs.
Everything.
And they can now just use this as perpetual justification to expand government power, to rule over the people. You can't protest about anything. We could control the economy because you can't go to work, specific things. Why do we want, who the fuck wants to live that way?
COVID gave the elite and the people in charge the right to
the tools
to be complete dictators. I mean, this is no different. Hitler would have loved to have set up Germany like this, where
I'm convinced.
Even if there's no more Jews, we're still going to have to listen to it. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what happens, she said if there's 0 cases and 80% of the entire country,
people are still going to have to deal with the rules.
You still have to wear a mask, and why are we socially distancing if there's no cases? You know what I mean? Like, so basically what you told us is because people got sick last year, nothing's ever going back to normal. That's what happens when you keep on bending the knee. That's what happens when you comply.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced that, like Hydra and the Nazis are not behind all this. This was their plan all along after all these years in the secret to use. I'm not saying COVID's not real. Again, we're just trying to be a little bit funny here and conspiratorial, but it's fucking suspicious.
I mean,
good.
The ethics of it too, like. These are your people, and you're just like, that's it. Your future's gone.
Get people to beg for the Nazis to rule over them and take their rights.
It's insane.
Let's give you the white pill now.
All right.
So this is from Reuters. And Australian PM Morrison defends lockdown strategy as daily cases hit record. Australia will stick to its lockdown strategy against the coronavirus until at least 70% of its population is fully vaccinated. But after that, it will have to start living with the virus, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on Sunday. The country set a record with 914 infections. It's like not even that much, but... So Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, goes, you can't live with lockdowns forever. And at some point, you need to make that gear change. And that is done at 70%, Morrison said in a television interview on the Australian Broadcast Corp's Insider program. Lockdowns are a key element of the federal government strategy to rein in outbreaks until the 70% level is reached, with borders being reopened gradually when the figure climbs to 80%. So this directly conflicts basically with what she was saying. That we're going to basically have to keep most rules in place even after 80%. But the white pill here is that the Prime Minister does say, do you believe him? I don't know. Just like every other position, that once we get to 70%, this tyranny will come to an end.
Yeah. If you comply and do as I say as a tyrannical dictator, we will stop dictating.
Right. Maybe. Right. But I'm using it as
the first time in history.
I'm using it as the white pill here because I would think, he's got to be feeling pressure from the insane amount of protesting that's been happening. Right. When you protest, when you take human action, when you get out on the streets, you show the politicians that no. I am serious about this, because if I'm fucking serious enough to go out in the street and do something about it, then I'm serious enough to vote against your ass to change what I'm doing. So, in my opinion, the protesting is working, right? And it's softening his tone of I better open the door to there being a possibility of ending the lockdowns at a certain percentage. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know this guy, but I posted a video of the guy on the fucking horse right? And
they can't arrest us all.
and people bursting through the police lines, etc. People are obviously pissed, and the more you like show up in person, especially here in America, Americans to take a lesson from the other countries around the world.
France, Italy, Greece, all
where
of
people
them.
are showing up. You have to show up in person. I know people have jobs. I know people are busy. Yeah, but you have to like try and make some time. At least go once or twice. Do something in person, or to if you're not happy, you have to fucking do something. Even me and you just sitting here complaining about it ain't enough, right? Like that's why I went to that one protest to try and like, all right, I'm here. I could try and show out.
That's why it's called We the People, because we the people are stronger than the government. We the people there's more of us than the government. The government, I think of America, only makes up like 5% of the population or something like that. Where if you had 15% of the population, like that's it, game over. You know what I mean? Like, and not saying that there should be some type of civil uprising and a coup take place or whatever, but it doesn't take much of we the people to take charge and say,
the difference is that a lot of people are begging for
control rights. So
that's
the crazy beautiful part of this,
and that makes it even more imperative that you who believe in individual rights, freedom, self-determination have to show up, because there's there's the useful idiots on the side of the government who are begging for this. They might go protest for it to happen.
Yeah, that'll eventually happen.
You see Antifa now is
shooting up the streets,
is like beating people up that are protesting against the mandates. Like what? The anti-fascists are beating up people protesting against authoritarianism. Yeah. I mean,
it's
clown world.
It gets to a point where you have to just admit it's impossible for this all not to be nefarious.
Yeah, I agree. There is. That's my whole point. It's not about even the virus or about getting vaccinated or not. It's about the tyranny that has nothing to do with the health aspect.
I mean,
like people that I talk to that are doctors and nurses. Some of them like don't take that aspect into regard. Like it's not just about the health. It's about, I want America to look like America next year, not like Nazi Germany. And I'd like for coronavirus to go away and people not die too, but it's not the government.
Not going to happen anymore.
There's not an excuse for me to lose every individual right or,
Dude, first and foremost, this is a sickness with a 99% survival rate, a virus with a 99% survival rate. Over 70% of the people who die have underlying obesity conditions. I had more numbers for this, and it was going to be good. But you want it to look like America again. Like, this is always going to be around, but this is all happening over such a small percentage. Oh, I know where I was going with this. Our good friend Casey Baker posted on his Instagram story a bar graph of how many people die of what a year. And like heart disease and like smoking or like cancer, the bar was all the way up here while COVID was way down here.
Yeah, I can't verify this information, but okay.
I mean,
no, it's all right.
If we're going to just take from if we're just going to take it from this bar graph, but we've known for a long time that there's been other things out there that have killed more people last year alone than COVID did, and we're losing all of our rights. They literally, it's probably safe to say that like cancer probably killed more people last year than COVID did, right? We're not locking down and losing our rights because people are dying from cancer, and anyone can get cancer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Should we all be forced to do chemo now?
Right. Yeah, I understand. I understand your point. I'm trying to fact check you here so we don't get banned.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we're just all right. So according to CNBC, they're super liberal. Mm-hmm. And this is an article from recently, real quick. This is from March 31st, 2021. It says COVID was the third leading cause of death among Americans in 2020, behind heart disease and cancer. So you all right.
So look, I'm sorry. Anybody can get COVID and anybody can get cancer. Cancer is killing more people than COVID. Why am I not losing my rights over cancer? But Australia is completely in Nazi territory now.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Right. At the end of the day, death is death.
I mean, cancer is a sickness. Cancer is a virus. COVID is a sickness. COVID is a virus. Cancer is killing more people.
Right, but it's just that they're just it's scary, it's new, it could be transmitted from one person to another. So they're taking that fear, that risk, and they're using it to nefariously overreach.
You saw the words coming out of my mouth.
Expand government. So let's parlay this now into the boring part of the podcast, but it really won't be boring. And let's talk about the spending bill, the $1.2 trillion spending bill.
Biden's favorite Pokemon move. Biden uses spend.
And this is all going to tie up nicely with a nice bow on top, because I'm going to make the libertarian argument here of the product that you get. Everything you're seeing now as a society is a product that you get when the government keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing even further than that, right? So let's talk about the spending bill. It's $1.2 trillion. It passed in the Senate about 3 weeks ago now at some point. I've been hanging on to these notes for a while. The package would be financed through a combination of funds, including repurposing unspent emergency relief funds from the COVID-19 pandemic and strengthening tax enforcement for cryptocurrencies. So the thing that wasn't taxable now, they're going to go after that too. The only thing that people are trying to get away from, government overreach, they're going to start going after that. While negotiators said that the cost of the plan would be offset entirely.
Hold on, wait a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I really am. They're going to tax theoretical money.
Well, it's not. Well, cryptocurrency is not theoretical. It's hard. It's hard money.
But isn't the whole idea of crypto based on this is how much we value it? So this is
Then I assume now what they're going to do is like when you cash out some Bitcoin for like for dollars, they're going to
tax the
shit. I don't know even what.
Probably be like a 70% tax.
Yeah. Where was I? So
sorry about that.
So while negotiators said that the cost of the plan would be offset entirely, the Congressional Budget Office predicted it would add about $256 billion to projected deficits over 10 years. And I have a little breakdown here. This bill, it includes $550 to $600 billion in new spending. So the way I understand it, it's $1.2 trillion. About $600 billion of it is new money that they're going to spend. The other rest is they're going to grab it from other places that was already apportioned for the budget, right? And this includes 110. So these are some of the things that sound good. I'll give them that in the bill, right? $110 billion in new funds for roads and bridges, $39 billion for public transit, $66 billion for rail, $42 billion for ports and airports, $65 billion to bring broadband internet to all, $7.5 billion for a national network for electric vehicle chargers, $7.5 billion for electric buses and ferries, $28 billion for power grid infrastructure improvements, $46 billion to mitigate damages of floods, wildfires, and droughts, $55 billion to clean water infrastructure and eliminate lead pipes, like in Flint, Michigan, $21 billion to clean up contaminated Superfund sites and mines. Superfund sites like a disaster mine site. I have looked that up, right? That is what I could find, and I did a lot of digging at the time into what's actually infrastructure. But that only totals $487 billion. What did I say before? $600 billion in new spending. Not to mention it's $1.2 trillion overall. So more than half of this, I don't know what the fuck they're spending it on, right? And I looked hard when I was researching this. I looked really fucking hard to figure out what they're spending it on. And it was suspiciously hard to find the details of the remaining balance without me going over the remaining 2,000 pages. I could have sat there and read the 2,000 pages. I ain't gonna do that. And then I'd have to like take notes on it as I'm reading it and like read law lingo.
You weren't going to read 2,000.
Gonna, right?
Most of the congressmen and women didn't read the 2,000 pages.
I don't know what the rest of the money is going on. It's hard to find out. And my point here, going back to the government never stops growing and it's out of control, is regardless of who is even the president, right? Because what party's in control, they are addicted to spending money. Even under Trump, they added $800 billion to the deficit. His rationale was we're going to like out-earn that in order to pay it back. But they still spent mad money, even under Trump. So it doesn't even matter if you put your fucking hero in there to the MAGA people. He's still going to spend a shit ton of money, right? For 2021, they already had a projected budget of $6.8 trillion. And they have the $3.5 trillion bill that we're talking about
yeah.
coming up, right? That's coming up too. $6.8 trillion plus $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill coming up. What the fuck do you even have a budget for, right?
Yeah.
If the budget was $6.8 trillion, right? Let me make this practical, right? Me and my wife, we have a budget on groceries every month. We decide we're going to spend $100 on groceries. We get to halfway through the month, and our budget was $1,000 for groceries for the month, and we've spent $1,000 on groceries. Not even. We've spent $500 on groceries halfway through the month. Right, and then I say, you know what? Let's add another $1,000 to the budget, even though we haven't even gotten there yet. Why did we even come up with a budget in the first place? Then, like, they don't even have the slightest fucking clue of what budgeting means or how to run a budget. They run a budget and then they just add more money outside of the budget.
Well, that's the beautiful part of tax. So you just keep collecting it.
Yeah, I mean,
we pay for all this.
Yeah, we do.
And we can't even find what half of it is.
Right, exactly. You can't. As hard as I tried, I spent hours looking through like articles, research, listening to other people's podcasts that are way smarter than me on the shit, and I couldn't find anything, right? And the libertarian, I try to always like throw a libertarian thing in here. Like, they don't want the government spending money on anything. They want the government as small as possible, as least involved in anything. I think that's the best bet. But I'm not even going to say that the government's not going to spend on anything. That's, at this point in time, unrealistic. Even if Dave Smith becomes president, they're still going to have a budget. He's going to try his best to cut things down. It's not possible to just erase it all. But why can't they just reprioritize some of the budget, this insane budget they already had? Like, they spend $750 billion on the military, right? Well, okay, we need to fix the lead pipes in Michigan. So why don't we spend $600 billion on the military, and we use the offset to fix the budget, the infrastructure things they want. No, they just create new spending plans outside of the budget they already agreed to and add that to the budget. And then they create more reconciliation plans after that. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense to me. Just in the beginning of the year, I'm sorry I'm ranting here, but in the beginning of the year, just include the whole amount in the budget in the fucking first place. Yeah. Tell us what it is from the onset.
It's a broken system. Shocking. Everything about this country, no matter who's in office, is broken from the ground up. And there is no budget. They're only describing a budget to us. It's a transfer of wealth. This comes down to, you can't tell me once again that there isn't a nefarious aspect to this. You know what I mean? It's a transfer of wealth. It's us being, peed on and basically robbed. So you did all this research. I haven't really been looking into spending bills. It's all foreign language to me. I'm shitty enough with my own money. Yeah. I'm lucky I could save my own money and my pennies and my piggy bank and shit. But it's just nefarious. We're a broken system. There's no accountability, and with this administration, there's not going to be any type of stuff.
And even with Trump back, he's going to fucking spend a shit ton of money too.
And even once Joe Biden's out and Kamala's in, she'll be writing those checks, no problem.
And the thing is too, I don't think most people have a base understanding of economics or inflation. I just said before that this spending bill is going to add $600 billion in new money to the budget. To the deficit. I'm sorry. So
how do we even afford that?
They are not going to be able to pay for that through taxation. They don't have any money to just take out of the bank to pay the bill because they're already, however many $1 trillion in debt that they are. So how do they physically pay these bills? They just print the money. They don't even really print it anymore. They just invent it on a fucking computer ledger.
Yeah, they just change the numbers.
The Fed does. What happens when you do that is you inflate how much money is in circulation, which means that the money you already have is worth less. If I have $1 and the government invents $2, well, now my dollar's purchasing power only really has like 50 cents. It might still be called a dollar.
Yeah.
Right? So this is how they pay for it, right? That's essentially, the more I've looked into this shit, printing money is taxation. They're taxing you by decreasing your purchasing power, the value of your money. If you have
that's why Biden is not increasing taxes.
It sounds good politically too, right? I'm not increasing taxes on anybody. I'm just printing a shit ton of money and decreasing the value of your money. I'm sorry to override you, but if you have right now a lot of money sitting in the bank, a couple $100,000, maybe because you're good at saving money, I recommend, not a financial advisor, although I used to do shit like that, so I kind of am a little bit experienced in that. You do something with that and invest it in something, because that $500,000 is going to be worth like $100,000. The more, you know, it's still going to be called $500,000, but you're only going to be able to buy $100,000 worth of something in a few years.
Yeah.
This is it. The government, you know, the more the more they grow, the worse they get.
It's grown, and this is everything woke goes to shit, as Trump says. Like everything, this is what we've reaped. We've allowed the government to grow and overstep and get so crazy that our money is going to be worthless. We allowed them to get so crazy with COVID. Our constitution's on the line. Our rights, our freedoms are on the line. You reap what you sow. Yeah. You know, and people have promoted and pushed a broken system from before we were probably born. Yeah. And this is the results of what goes on when you just you incur a debt to the truth for lying. You're corrupt. It comes crashing down one day.
Yeah.
And the only worst part is that we suffer.
Yeah, you know, and my argument here is going to come down to it's the government that's the problem. Even choosing Trump as your hero, I've made the comparison to like giving Ron DeSantis the sword and him using it for the right reasons. That's not a great. I found a better comparison, right? Because I just recently found out that J.R. Tolkien, who wrote The Lord of the Rings, was an anarchist, which makes a tremendous amount of sense. And I sat there and thought about it. The Ring is the perfect example of government power.
Right.
The Ring is this insanely evil thing. And in one of the movies, remember, it was, I think, Boromir. We should take this as a gift and use it against our enemies. So think of Boromir as Ron DeSantis. We should take this gift and use it against our enemies, the woke people. And Aragorn says, you cannot wield it, right? It'll just corrupt you and make you worse. The Ring can only be destroyed. The government needs to only be eliminated, you know,
shrunk.
That's the only answer to all these fucking problems that we have right now. Cast the Ring into Mount Doom. I agree. Give Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis the Ring, because they might win a battle or two for you, but the Ring still remains.
Yeah, there's still going to be the corruption.
Yeah.
No, the growth and overstepping is what's broken every institution. Because you're more concerned about policy than, you know, actual actions and stuff, and no one gets held accountable. So whoever wields it gets corrupt.
Yep. And then my final point here, to tie it back to Afghanistan at the beginning, one of the things we forgot to mention before was Taiwan and China.
Yeah.
And you know, one of your questions was about Taiwan and China taking over Taiwan and your concern over that. And then me and you had the discussion the other day. I'm like, who gives a fuck? Yep. That's their fucking problem, right? My point that I said I was going to save my bullets was that I'm more worried about our own government oppressing us than the CCP. That doesn't mean that they're good guys or that I don't, you know, that I like what they're doing. But right now, I'm more worried about the American government, you know, ruling over me and oppressing me than I am the Chinese government.
Or the Australian government.
Chinese TikTok app has done wonders for our show and our freedom of speech more than the American companies have. So, you know, does that make them good guys? No, but, you know.
I know.
That's my point. That who cares about Taiwan? Let's worry about ourselves right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. We need to make America first again.
Yeah.
All right, so we're good.
Yeah,
I'm done. Yes, it is hot in here.
Summer podcasts in here. I can't keep the air conditioner running, and it's like a boiling pot in here. Yeah. The longer we go, the more the temperature goes up.
It's so heavily insulated for the winter.
It's 79 in here right now. God. So that's it. Once we reach 80, podcast's over.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Doom Nation, thank you guys for joining in for another episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe as always. Doom Nation, thank you guys. Peace out.
One thing I want to add real quick, we were on the Unfit Statesman podcast.
Yes,
we recorded with him on Saturday, so that should be coming out at some point soon. Check out the Unfit Statesman. Fun guy. We had a good time talking.
Yes, great conversation.
Yeah, later.
Peace.